the answers to the question of life, the universe. Oh, excuse me, let me get this right. The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. It's not 42, if you guys know what that means. It's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, if little fun reference there. But anyways, so before we get into life's giant question, or the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything, I do want to let you guys know that School of the Prophets has started back up again, and there is a new way, there is an easier way to get into it now. You can just request to be a part of it through the app. So make sure you download the Gate Church Jacksonville. Search that in your app store. Was it Google Play for Google? Search that, and you will be able to find it. You'll see our logo. Create a profile, and then you should be able to, in the messaging section, see the different groups that you can join, the groups that you can request to join, and one of those is School of the Prophets, and we'll be sending out a Zoom link on Tuesday nights, and then also during the week. You can discuss with other people about things, questions, and just things that you're seeing, things that you're learning. Whenever it comes to prophetic stuff in the app there. So it's really cool, great little way to build a community around that and be able to talk about it. There's people from all over the place that have joined, and it's great. It's really great to be a part of it. So so I want to get to the question, or the answer really. The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. I know it's kind of a silly title just for fun, but it is a really serious topic because it does pertain to your whole life, and how everything that Jesus said, everything that the law says, Jesus said the law says is summed up. So we will take a look at that in. It says it in several places in the Gospels, but we'll go this time with Matthew 22. So let's go to verse. Let's go to verse 34. The Sadducees were trying to trick Jesus. They were trying to ask him about. They were trying to ask him about marriage in heaven and who marries after the woman dies and all that kind of stuff. So, verse 34 though. So, but the Pharisees, when they heard that Jesus, had put the Sadducees to silence, gathered themselves together. And one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question, trying him. Teacher, which is the great commandment? Which is the great commandment in the law? And this is how the American Standard Version puts it. Which is the great commandment in the law? And he said to them, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and all thy soul and with all thy mind. This is the great and first commandment. And a second like unto it is this, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments the whole law hangs, and the prophets. The whole law and the prophets can be summed up in these, is what some translations say. I just accidentally clicked on the American Standard Version, and it's not the New American Standard, it's the American Standard, so it has a few of the "this" in it. But anyways, so whatever your translation says, it says very similar usually. And he said to them, Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and all thy soul and with all thy mind. This is the first and greatest. And the second is like it unto this. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two the whole law hangs, and the prophets. So the law and the prophets can be summed up in these two things. So why is this so important? First of all, so Jesus says that the law and the prophets are summed up in these two things, and it's pretty profound, especially when the Jews at the time had the books of the law, the books that we have in the Bible. They had those books, and they also had all their extra laws that they added to it. So he's really simplifying everything. He's really simplifying everything for them, and saying, look, if you love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul and mind, if you do everything you can for the Lord, if you take everything that you are and you give it to Him, then you're going to follow the rest of it. You know, whenever you love the Lord, you keep His commands. You know, Jesus says, him who loves me is the one who keeps my commands. Whenever you love Him, you keep His commands because of your love, and not because of everything that, not because of external factors. It becomes an internal thing. Number one, whenever you love Him with all your heart, soul, and mind, that's just saying, put everything you have into Him, and through that, He will come through you, and He will work in you the things that He needs to work in you, so that the things that, so that obeying the law, if you want to say it that way, so that obeying His commands, obeying the things that are near and dear to His heart, it's not a hard or burdensome thing. Once He works those things through you. And the reason He says the second one, like it, so the Ten Commandments, if you look at them, you know, there's the ones that deal with you and God, and there's the ones that deal with you and people. But the second one, like it, so I really believe, and I kind of, whenever I was reading this earlier to get ready for this, you know, verse 34, so Jesus had just got done talking to the Sadducees, and now here come the Pharisees. They're like, oh, they couldn't get Him. Well, let's see what we can do, you know. So the Pharisees, when they heard that He had put the Sadducees to silence, they gathered together and said, well, let's see if we can be better than they are. Let's see if we can trick this man, Jesus. And then the lawyer comes to Him saying, which is the greatest commandment. So He's saying that love the Lord your God, you know, with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, or strength is in other parts, but love the Lord your God. Okay, so as a Pharisee or a Sadducee, you know, you may think, oh, you know, in your skewed version of things, you may think that you are loving the Lord because you may have zeal, like Paul said. You know, Paul said, I had zeal, and I was doing everything that I thought the Lord wanted me to do, and you may be doing all that you were taught, even though it may be wrong in thinking that this is what is pleasing to God. This is not what is pleasing to God. But then Jesus says, and love your neighbor as yourself. And then in, I think it's Mark, is whenever this question has come up again, and the guy says, well, and who's my neighbor? You know, because he doesn't want to love his neighbor. He wants to like justify himself in what he does. So he's like, well, who's my neighbor? Who can I divide and not, who can I not love, basically? You know, and that's where we get the story of the Good Samaritan. But Jesus says, love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself, because whenever you love God and whenever you have His heart for things, whenever you have His heart for other people, that's when that starts to work through you, and you start to treat other people as God sees them. Because if you love God, then the logic follows that if you love God and you're doing what God wants because you love Him, then you're going to be able to see people. You're going to be able to, number one, see yourself from God's perspective, but then you're also going to be able to see other people from God's perspective, and you're going to love them as He does. So in this, you know, whenever we say that we love the Lord, I came across Hebrews 11, and it has to do with it a little bit, you know. It has to do with pleasing the Lord. You know, if you love Him, you're going to keep His commands. But if you love someone, you're going to want to please them. You're going to want to not please them out of fear of anything, but just please them because you love them and you want to see them happy. You want to see what they want to see, if that makes sense. Like, you know, I'm married. I have a wife. I like it when I can do things that make her happy. I like it when I can do things that she likes. And in this is one of the things that God gives us. This is one of the keys that God gives us to be well-pleasing to Him, in that vein of loving Him. So this is Hebrews 11, Let me move this over here so I'm not looking too far away from you guys. This is Hebrews 11, verse 5. So, and this is the English Standard Version just because this is what I pulled up. But by faith, Enoch was taken up so that he should not see death, and he was not found because God had taken him. Now, if you look at the American Standard, which I probably should have read first, but by faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, but he was not found because God translated him. You know, like Enoch walked with God and was no more. For he had witness borne to him that before his translation, before he was taken up, he had been well-pleasing unto God. Now that's an amazing statement right there, just to say that, like, God, before, you know, we talk about, like, well done, my good and faithful servant, but this Enoch, like, he had this said to him before he died. He said, you are pleasing, you know, like God says you are pleasing in some way. I don't know, maybe those of you who have read the book of Enoch may know what the reference is here, if it does reference it in that. But anyways, the writer of Hebrews does reference that before he was taken up, he was told that he was well-pleasing to God. So, and this is the key to it, though, is verse 6. And without faith, it is impossible to be well-pleasing unto him. For he that comes to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those that seek after him. So, you know, if we have faith in the seeking, we have faith that whenever we seek God to know his heart, whenever we seek God to know him, that he rewards us in that way, of that we can be pleasing to him, that we can know him, that we can have his heart. So I just wanted to leave you guys with that, to seek God with all your heart, seek him with all your mind, seek him with all your soul, seek him with everything you have. I love Josephine. If you guys don't know the story of Josephine, but anyways, this lady quoted a long time ago for me. The Bible says, seek first the kingdom of heaven, and after that, the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and after that, everything comes after that. You know, so seek him first. That is the answer. That is the answer to the question of life. That is the answer to really seeking him, is to seek him. That's the answer to all the complexities, like all the complex questions. The Pharisees and the Sadducees, they were very good at all the complex stuff. They were very good at making things really hard for themselves. They were good at making things really hard for other people, so that it was really hard to come to God. But then Jesus says, this is the way. So they're even trying to make it hard for Jesus. They're like, what is the greatest commandment? Because we want to argue with you. We want to make this tough. You know, he just says, love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. Because whenever you love God, you're going to have his heart. You're going to obey his commands, and you're going to see how God sees people. You're going to see how God sees you. You're going to see how God sees the person next to you. You're going to see how God sees your enemy, the person across the aisle who you actually don't like for one reason or the other, usually because of some ideological difference. But, you know, you're going to see how God sees that person. You're going to see and you're going to see how to pray for that person, how to intercede for them. You know, God can call you to intercede for the people that you don't necessarily like. You know, pray for those who persecute you. Jesus said that. So pray for those who spitefully use you, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, and God can put that in your heart to where it's an outflow of your heart, and not just something you do because God said so. You know, I'd rather have you do it, but at the same time, like, it's a matter of the heart. You know, if you say, well, God, I bless that person, you know, then you're not having the heart of God for them. You're not having the right attitude. Your attitude is selfish, and it's about yourself, because you're thinking that in your own selfness, in your own self-righteousness, that you can do the right thing without God, and you can't. You know, whenever you pray for someone, whenever you pray for your neighbor, whenever you love your neighbor, it has to come from a heart, from God's heart. It has to come through you, and that's the right way of doing things. It's like, I'll leave you guys with this. It's like, if you guys have ever actually read Peter Pan, I love the contrast in that story of Peter Pan and Hook, because it's the contrast of the Christian life of, doing everything out of who you are versus doing everything out of because it's good form. And that's what, if you ever watch any of the movies, Hook says, "Oh, good form, Peter," in the Steven Spielberg Hook. But that's where that comes from, is that the great conflict within Hook because of Peter is because Hook wants to see everything done right, and he wants to have good form. He wants to have the image of it all, the image of being right. So he fights hard for that, actually, but Peter frustrates him in such a way because of Peter's innocence, and because of who he is. Like, he already has good form, and it just comes out of him. So that's how it is whenever we love God and whenever we love other people. Because we love God, it's because it comes out of us, because God has transformed us into looking like Him. So that's that. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what just happened there. Well, so that's that. Looks like my stabilizer just pooped out. But let's see. Well, I'll just let you guys go as I'm shaking this thing. So have a wonderful night. Be blessed. And until next time.